Hello, my name is Andy and I am the Village Idiot. I'm armed with a car and a GoPro and an unhealthy amount of time on my hands. I'm using that time to attempt to visit every civil parish in England. You're watching the Leeds series. The city of Leeds is one of the 5 metropolitan boroughs of West Yorkshire. 38 civil parishes lie within its boundaries. Which slice of the city are we seeing today? Welcome back to the city of Leeds and to the largest one in the city. Not only is it the largest one in the city, it's also the largest one I've ever attempted on the channel. This is going to be a very difficult one to do, especially when you consider it's 30-degree heat at the moment. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. It's that big. It has its own town centre with its own pedestrianised street. We don't see many of these, do we? And there's also a statue in the middle of this pedestrianised street. And that statue belongs to one Ernie Wise. There's a name a lot of you may well be familiar with. We'll talk a bit about him as we travel around the town of Morley. This Leeds video is sponsored by Past Days, a family history blog by June Terrington. You'll find her link in the description. Here's my disclaimer for people who may be watching me for the first time. I say things as I would in my native accent and dialect. As a result, I may not pronounce things in the same way as the locals do. Remember, I'm a visitor. It's impossible to know everything. Leave me a comment, spin me a like and bash that subscribe button. Let's get to today's parish video. For the second time on the channel, welcome to Morley. Last time we saw a place with this name, we were in rural Derbyshire. This couldn't be any more wildly different. Morley is first mentioned in the Domesday Book, and in the same way as the Derbyshire village, it means open ground by a moor. Morley is no village here though. This is a town and the largest civil parish in the whole of Leeds. It's so big that it used to command its own municipal borough until being incorporated into Leeds in 1972. A town council was established in 2000, though it does not cover Driglington, Gildersham, Tingley and East and West Ardsley. Those are areas which were formerly part of the municipal borough. Industrially, it was famous for its textile industry, most notably the cloth known as shoddy, which was worn by both sides in the American Civil War. The town's coat of arms features the symbolic principal industries of the municipal borough, as well as textile manufacturing, coal mining and quarrying were also undertaken here to a lesser extent. The boundaries also cover the village of Churwell, which sits on the main road north towards Leeds, Elland Road. The White Rose shopping centre is also in the east of its boundaries too. It's the town famed for its 7 hills, just like those in Rome. So let's have a roam around. We start on New Bank Street at the entrance to Crank Mills, which was the first steam-powered mill in Yorkshire. It was built to supplement the domestic woolen trade. Nowadays, it's a music studio. Crank Mills' construction was thanks in part to Lord Dartmouth, who has a park named after him in the town. It was originally called Bank Mill, as it followed the line of Bilberry Bank. Next, it's Morley railway station, half a mile from the town centre on the Leeds to Huddersfield line. There's a service 7 days a week to and from Leeds, but on Sundays the service is less frequent. This is the town's only station, although there used to be another one. As such, this was originally called Morley Low. Morley Top Station was situated under what is now a road called Chartist Way. At the southern end of the platforms is the wide gaping portal of Morley Tunnel, which transports the line under the entire town, re-emerging close to Howley Hall Golf Course. Now, with the various railway tunnels we've talked about in the past, we haven't been able to get really up close and personal with them. Well, this one we can, because if I stand right at the end of the platform, as far as I'm legally allowed to go, which is just there by the way, we can see Morley Tunnel, and that runs all the way under the town. Now, there's a green light on there which suggests to me there's a train due at some point, so I'll hang around for a few minutes. We might be able to catch one either coming into or going out of the tunnel. The tunnel was completed in 1848, and its completion provided at that time a much needed rail link between Yorkshire and Lancashire. The tunnel's construction made huge changes to the landscape. A huge cutting had to be excavated to accommodate the work around what is now the station, which is why it's in a steep-sided valley. I'm now about to climb that valley using some steps. It's not a comfortable ascent, but it's worth the effort, and if you so desired, you could reward yourself at the top by calling into the Miners' Fisheries, a local chippy. Morley is full of old converted buildings. Here's one such example. This was a Quaker school opened in 1895. The Society of Friends used it until 1998, and it's now been converted to housing. Speaking of schools, here's Seven Hills Primary School. This takes its name from the fact that Morley is built on 7 hills called Daisy, Scatcherd, Dawson, Chapel, Hunger, Troy and Banks. Well, make no mistake about it, 7 hills is right. I think I've just climbed them all in one go, and we're still climbing. It's starting to get a little less steep, but when we get to the top of this, there's a left turn, and it should from there on be relatively flat. On Hull Street, we encounter the original City Mills complex, dating from before 1895 and now occupied by a garage business. City Mills later expanded into a larger mill across the road. In the midst of this former industrial heartland, we have Priestley Manor, the modern name for Peel Street Board School, built in 1880. This stands directly over Morley Tunnel. Generations of school children would have heard the rumbling of passing trains underneath. Now converted to residential use, it was replaced with the modern 7 Hills Primary School, which we've already seen. On the corner of School Street is Ackroyd Street Working Men's Club. Morley-based independent wrestling company Dynamic Pro Wrestling used to put on shows here until its closure in 2011. Continuing down South Parade, we've got more old mills. These have been turned into flats. There are plenty more like this in Morley, way too many to catch them all. Okay, next up is a park, the first of 2 parks on this walk. This one is Lewisham Park, and at the moment there appears to be some kind of fair on it. Now, I don't particularly like fairs, I'll be honest with you, but I do like the idea of them. I don't like going to them, I do like the idea of them. And this one looks like it's not quite in full swing yet, because it's a little bit early in the morning for it, but I imagine when that gets going, it'll be quite good. Lewisham Park is one of the many parks in Morley. Almost all of this one is grass. This makes it a great place to grab a picnic or some snacks from the local shops and enjoy the sunshine. Although small compared to some of the others, Lewisham Park quietly goes about its business. A lap of the park is roughly ½ a kilometre in length, so it's good for a bit of exercise. Now, I hope you like churches, guys, because Morley has so very many, both new and old. This is one of the old. It's the former St Mary's Congregational Mission Chapel on Middleton Road. And Morley is no slouch when it comes to having a drink or two. This right here is the Tipsy Cow, the newest bar in Morley, established in 2017. And alongside the new, there's still some older establishments as well. Directly opposite, we have the Commercial Inn, a stone-built pub dating from 1906. Okay, now we're turning onto Hope Street and we're heading for the market, which is this green-topped building you can see here. Now, hopefully, I'll be able to walk through this with the camera on so you can see exactly what the market is like on the inside. Not quite sure if I'll be allowed to do this, but we'll soon see. Just before we go into the market, there's a few things to see on Hope Street. Opposite the market, there's a small shopping precinct, which has a couple of household names within it. The largest of those would be Wilkinson's and Home Bargains. There's also a small car park. This is a very busy area of the town centre. Overlooking it all is the Queen Hotel, one of the most popular town centre pubs. This has recently undergone a takeover by the Craft Union Pub Company. Morley Market has been a feature since the town was formed. The market building has a large trading hall split up into units housing butchers, fashion shops and even a cafe. There are over 50 stalls for you to meander around at your leisure. Its traders are passionate about giving you value for money. In true Yorkshire fashion, they often go above and beyond. Okay, here we go then, moment of truth. This might well be the first market hall we've ever actually seen the inside of on the channel. I'll take my hat off as well, I think. Now then, I've no idea which way to go. I'll go this way. So we've got some butchers on the right. Shoe shop straight in front of us. I'm hoping there's an exit the other end. Let's go this way. Left or right, left or right. Let's go right. Plenty of British flags up, look. Jubilee was quite a while ago. Toilet facilities, that's good. Go down there. Now if we go left at the end, go down some steps. Another section of it, like an upstairs bit and a downstairs bit. Got an exit here. Pet shop on the right. And there we go, back out into civilization. Nice little market hall, that. If you turn left out of the market, you'll cross Albion Street and Morley Library then appears on the left. This opened in 1899. Additions to the building were made in 1937 and 1978. Albion Street, by the way, is in two parts. We'll see the second part of it later. Next, it's Zor Street, where we're faced with Morley Spiritualist Church, which was previously a Catholic Apostolic church. A spire can be seen in a wooded area behind this. That's the top of St Mary in the Wood, which has been closed since the late 20th century. Since 2010, the site has been off limits to the public. That's because a fire broke out and burnt the whole church interior. The site may be overgrown and abandoned now, but the congregation still meet at a separate chapel on Commercial Street. And this leads us to the bottom of Troy Road, where we can quite clearly see our next major landmark, one which everyone in Morley knows. Okay, our next job is to go down the main street here in Morley, the main town centre street, past the town hall, which I showed you a moment ago. And on the way, we pass this building here, and there's a plaque on the wall. This is quite important to a later part of the route. This is to do with Alice Cliff Scatcherd, champion of women's education, trade unionism and suffrage, who established the Morley Cooperative Women's Guild and the Morley District Nurses Association. Lived here apparently and donated Scatcherd Park to the people of Morley. Scatcherd Park we'll be going through later, and it's right there opposite the house. Morley's main street is called Queen Street, an elongated strip of shops, bars, restaurants and other retail facilities. It's not quite Leeds city centre, but it's still a very busy area. It's a pedestrianised thoroughfare, and it has been since at least the turn of the 20th century. Who needs a big city centre when all you'll ever need can be found right here? At the foot of Queen Street is where you're most likely to see a bus or two. Not an official bus station, this is where they stop in the town centre. There's far too many services to list them all. Morley Town Hall is next. This was built in 1895 and it cost over £41,000. It features a clock named after Councillor Sam Rhodes, the chairman of the Town Hall Committee, which was installed in 1995. The building was officially opened by the MP Herbert Asquith. It's been used for various concerts and films, and the ITV show Emmerdale used it for both some interior and exterior shots in 2007. Now in front of the town hall we've got two statues. Let's see what this fella's all about here. Okay, no idea who he is, but it does have sponsors. Morley Town Council, the Rotary Club, Woodkirk Stone, Leeds City Council, BDC, whatever that is, Morley Civic Society, and one I can't read at the bottom. Let's go and have a look at the other one, which is on the other side of the steps. We'll walk over the steps. It's an impressive building, it really is. It towers above everything else in Morley, this. Easily the most iconic landmark in the town. So this one is a lady, it looks like. And there's a name at the bottom. Oh, I can't read it. The Weaver 2007. That's what that says. The Weaver, of course, is a direct reference to Morley's industrial heritage as a cloth manufacturing town. Speaking of heritage, there's a board here telling us about the Morley Heritage Trail. One thing on this I took an interest in is Morley Hole, a hollow which was the site of the oldest house in the town, belonging to Manoah Bentley. The area used to have a stream, which was infilled in the 1960s. The town council's notice board is on the side of the town hall, and you can mark off the biggest parish in Leeds now, everyone. Here's a couple more interesting bits as we journey down Queen Street. Morley is known for being the most patriotic town in England. It holds annually one of the largest St George's Day parades in the country, something which passes through the town centre. Morley is also the setting for David Peace's Red Riding Quartet novel and 2009 television series which explores West Yorkshire Police's corruption during the 1970s and 1980s. Okay, halfway up Queen Street we've got the Beryl Burton Gardens. Now there's a plaque on the wall here. I have no idea who Beryl Burton is or was, but we're about to find out. Beryl Burton, OBE, was a cycling phenomenon, born in Halton, Leeds, living in Morley for much of her married life. 3,000 metre track pursuit world champion in 1959. There you go. And apparently, this is Beryl Burton Gardens. The Picture House now. Today, this is a Wetherspoons pub, but this building has been loads of things in its time. Originally, it was a purpose-built cinema. The Picture House opened in 1913, at first showing silent films. CinemaScope was introduced in 1956, but the growing popularity of television at that time forced the Picture House to close in 1960. On the 21st of February 2010, a statue of Ernie Wise was erected outside Morley Post Office, which divided opinion amongst the locals. It was unveiled by his widow, Doreen. For those not familiar, Ernie Wise, whose actual name was Ernest Wiseman, formed one half of the famous comedy double act Morecambe and Wise, a national institution of British television. Born in Leeds, Morley was his hometown and he won a talent contest here in 1936. He's performed in the old cinema, which is now the Wetherspoons, which we've just seen. So the pedestrianised area is coming to an end now. We still have another bar on the left-hand side there. There's a few other shops. There's a barber's there, another bar there, another one there. Plenty of bars in Morley. Certainly a place to come if you like your drink, I think. And that's the post office right there. Okay, so now we're going to go straight across these traffic lights into our next area where we're going to find yet another church. By crossing Fountain Street, so named as Morley once had one, we're on to South Queen Street. It's brought us to St Paul's Church, and we can walk right through the churchyard here. On the other side, there's a war memorial. Morley's main memorial is in Scatcherd Park. By doing this, we've also passed another old cinema, the new Pavilion, which opened in 1911. More religious buildings next. As we head down Fountain Street, we pass the Ebenezer Primitive Methodist Church and its associated Sunday school next door. Up a side street is the Sportsman. This is a small two-roomed local pub. The main entrance to the pub is from Great Northern Street. At the end of Fountain Street is the Morley Working Men's Club and Institute. It still displays a Tetley's sign, once seen everywhere across the Leeds region as a sign of good local ale. Okay, so that's brought us to a roundabout here where Corporation Street makes an appearance. That's this one here. There's another church there. I tell you, between bars and churches, you're well away here if you like those two things. There's something on this roundabout. I'm not totally sure what it is. If I can get across, I'll have a look. I'll just wait for the traffic to subside. I think After this van's come across, I think I'll be alright. Car coming round, another car coming round. It's like waiting for the rapture. Okay, we can get across now. Let's see what this is. It might be something and nothing, but it's always worth having a look. Yeah, I think it's just a... Oh, it's a coal truck. Oh, right, yeah. It's a coal truck that's been used as a planter. That's quite nice. Very clever too. Here we find the entrance to that church. This one is St. Francis of Assisi Roman Catholic Church. Honestly, with 7 hills and so many churches, this might as well be Rome. Wesley Street, and that right there is Rob's Place. It's a fish and chip shop which only opens 2 days a week according to a website I found. Today was not one of those days. Opposite that, we have the remains of a care home called Seagan Manor, which was built in the 1980s, but in recent years it was left empty and it attracted vandals. It came down in 2016. A bit further and we come to Morley Elderly Action, a registered charity whose sole aim is to help and support people aged over 60 to live independently in the greater Morley area. And this building is why the street name is Wesley. This is the Central Methodist Church, built in 1862 by James Simpson. Originally it was called Queen Street Methodist Church. It's Grade 2 listed. Okay, this next street runs around the back of Queen Street, as it were, back towards the Town Hall, which is nicely in view over there. Don't think there's much on this street, to be honest with you, although I have just noticed this very nice mural over here. Let's have a look and see what this is all about. It's a cyclist. I wonder if it's Beryl Burton. I would imagine it is, unless there's some other cyclist we haven't yet learnt about. I would say that's her. Yep, that is indeed Beryl Burton on her bike. That mural was created in 1996, shortly after her death. In childhood, Burton suffered chronic health problems due to rheumatic fever. Another church, this is Morley Community Church, a Zion chapel formed in the year 2000 by local evangelical Christians. There are meetings here every Sunday at 10 AM. Now then, let's talk supermarkets. We pass a Morrison's store now, but Morley has more than this. On the outskirts of the town is a large 24-hour Asda, and there's also an Aldi store here too. The approach road to Morrison's, the other half of Albion Street, also has another church on it. This is the Church of the Nazarene. And where Albion Street meets Corporation Street, there's a medical centre named Windsor House Surgery, and there's an adjoining pharmacy. There's a second medical centre over the road too. Okay, so we seem to have hit the area where Morley's emergency services are located. We've got a police station just there, and right next to that we have the fire station. Next is Morley Leisure Centre, built as a result of a £33 million construction project. It has a swimming pool, a 150 station bodyline gym, numerous sports halls, a dance studio and even a cafe. And it stands at the edge of Scatcherd Park. This is much bigger than Lewisham Park. It's got a large playing field, a skate park, a children's park and even a bowling green. In it you'll find this sculpture, which is made of wood, designed to commemorate the now defunct St Mary in the Wood Church. It was created by sculptor Melanie Wilkes from Dewsbury. Also in the park is the War Memorial. There are 453 names on this from World War I and 110 from World War II. It was renovated in 2008 and rededicated in the June of the same year. On the subject of heroes, these are the heroes of Morley, ordinary townspeople who have been nominated as such by other locals. Below is a link to Arts Blog, which explains the initiative. So now we've reached Morley Bottoms, which is another small pedestrianised area, and when I say small, I mean small. It's literally just this this little slip of a street here. There's a few retail units. There's a bar there, Kelsaprees, and there's another pub round the corner. And if you didn't know where you were, that'll tell you, Morley Bottoms right there. I did consider using that for the video's thumbnail, but I went with the other one that you saw earlier from the centre of town. So yeah, the rest of the route basically takes us up this hill and back onto New Bank Street. And that, my friends, will be the end of Morley. But of course, this is a big place, and a lot of it, of course, I haven't touched. I am going to go, though, to another area and do a separate walk around. That area is called Churwell, which is like a small village within a town, so we'll go there next. Just before we leave Morley for Churwell, we'll take a look at Springfield Hall. This is on Springfield Road. It's a Grade 2 listed mill owner's house built in the early to mid 19th century. It was built for John Webster, who owned Rod's Mill, and he employed a large number of workers. In 1862, Joseph Smith bought it and erected Springfield Mill at the rear of the house. These days, it's now a retirement home, and Springfield Mill Park is located immediately to the north. Okay, so now we're in Churwell, and this is a route that will focus mainly on 3 pubs and a rather large railway bridge. Speaking of that railway bridge, that's where we're beginning. That there is Churwell Viaduct. Surprisingly, there's not a lot out there about Churwell Viaduct. It's a Grade 2 listed building and it has at least 10 arches. That's as many as I could see, but there could well be more hidden away. It stands right next to both a former brickworks and a pit known as Churwell Brickworks and Tanhouse Pit respectively, and it was an area that lay derelict for years before becoming a scrapyard in the 1980s. Churwell Viaduct forms the parish boundary between Morley and the unparished city of Leeds. It carries the very same railway line we saw earlier at Morley Station. The line forms a long, sweeping leftwards arc around Daisy Hill after exiting Morley Tunnel, before crossing Churwell Viaduct and arriving at the closest railway station to here, Cottingley. Churwell used to have a railway station of its own on this very line. It was operational from 1848 until 1940. The site of the station was to the Leeds side of the viaduct off Elland Road. Okay, now we go up this very steep set of steps which will take us to the road. Now, these 3 pubs which I mentioned, one of them is called the New Inn. That's the first one we'll see. The second one, we won't actually see it because it's no longer there, however there is something in its place, and the third one is called the Commercial. The 3 pubs all had nicknames. These were Top Oil, Middle Oil and Bottom Oil, relating to their position on this hill. We're climbing uphill here, so the New Inn is Bottom Oil. By the look of this sign outside, the New Inn has plenty to get the punters interested. Churfest is a local festival and tickets for it can be obtained right here. This hill is known locally as Churwell Hill. It's the A643. It used to be a tramway in times past. In 1923, a runaway tram ran down Churwell Hill and crashed, killing 6 people. There's no memorial for that, but there is a war memorial halfway up the hill, set in its own little garden, right opposite the site of the second of the 3 pubs, the Golden Fleece. The Golden Fleece was Middle Oil, continuing the same theme. It's the only one of the 3 that's no longer in business. When it was demolished, this Tesco supermarket was built in its place. So even though this is no longer the Golden Fleece, they still have the old Golden Fleece sign outside the Tesco. That's good to see, bit of history preserved. We've likely seen enough churches and chapels to last a lifetime here. Regardless, Churwell has a few more. This is the current Methodist church. The original, now flat, is not too far away on Back Lane. And here we have Top Oil, otherwise known as the Commercial. Oil, by the way, is Yorkshire slang, and it means hole. In this context, hole means a pub or a watering hole. After a walk up Clarendon Terrace, we're at Churwell Park now. This is by no means as large as either Scatcherd Park or Lewisham Park, but it's still a decent size with a play area and a few features. One of these is a bowling green, which, by the way, I have to say looked absolutely immaculate. Top work there from the local groundsman. And Melanie Wilkes has been in this park too. This is Wilkes's water nymph. Churwell's name literally means spring of the peasants, reflecting the fact the village has a natural spring. Wilkes also made the 2 sculptures seen earlier at the town hall. So here we have the Churwell Community Centre, which has actually got 2 names. There's 2 plaques on the wall here. One of them says Churwell Community Centre, that's that one there. But here It's also called the Stanhope Memorial Hall, social centre for the elderly. The hall was presented to the Morley Borough Council by the late F.L. Stanhope Esquire in 1969. So this goes by two names apparently. Either way, it's right opposite the Tesco. Back onto Churwell Hill, there's yet another old religious building. This is the last one, I promise. This building was originally Churwell's Primitive Methodist Chapel. After passing Bar 27 on Old Road, known as the Little Oil by the way, we're at School Street. In 1993, Churwell Primary School was demolished and moved to modern premises in the village. Those houses now stand on the old school site. Directly opposite is a working men's club, likely built as a result of rapid population growth thanks to local industry. We've heard that one before. From here you get a great view of two 25-storey tower blocks. Those are Cottingley Heights and Cottingley Towers. Opened in 1972, they both have 147 dwellings in each. On the housing theme, since 2001, a considerable amount of housing development has taken place in Churwell. This is the entrance to New Village, built behind Churwell's Manor House, in shot now. Now, normally the picture bit has 5 images and it's exactly a minute long. As this is a huge parish, today it's got 15 and it's 2 minutes long instead. Enjoy. So there is a sort of fitting irony that one of the oldest houses in Churwell, the manor house, is right next to one of the newest areas of the village. This is New Village Mews, which is literally exactly what it says on the tin. This is probably the newest area of the village, according to Wikipedia anyway. And that's where we end. I'm back at the viaduct. It's literally just over the road over there, and that's a walk around Churwell complete, and the parish of Morley complete as well. And I think I've done well today, especially considering, as you can see, the sky hasn't got a single cloud in it, and I've done this in more than 30-degree heat. I think it's been an achievement, shall we say that much at least. Nice place, Morley. Never been here before, and it's a pleasure to tick it off the list. It's one that I was sort of worried about before I started doing Leeds, knowing how big it was. But to be honest with you, once you get over the hills and you know, from the railway station, it flattens off and it's fine. You can walk around it with no real problems. And of course, it's got everything you need. It's got all the amenities you need. It's a small town, so yeah, you're never short of anything in Morley. I think there are a few too many bars though. People do like a drink around here, apparently. Anyway, this has been the parish of Morley. I've been Andy, also known as the Village Idiot, and I'm out.